Hey, what's good, peeps? It's Matt here. I'm back for another fragrance. Well, today it's a first impression. It's a niche citrus scent. Looks expensive. Caught my eye when I was, just reading what was out there at the moment. New things on the market, new things coming out. The house is LEN this time. I think this is a house out of Germany. I've got one of their other releases I spoke about in a video, an iris scent. Really, really nice. I really enjoyed that. So I thought, okay, we'll give them a shot. So they have a brand new line, which is like an even more expensive line than the normal one. I think it's called an Exlusifs line. And there's one in there which got compared to quite a few really nice citrus perfumes. I think this one was compared to Afternoon Swim, Imagination, Terra de Hermes. I think some other ones came up. A Roger one came up as well. It's supposed to be a nice balance between sort of an old school masculine vibe and a sort of a slightly more modern thing with the citruses and the fruits. The impressions of it were that it's like a slightly more fun version of the Roger, and it was comparable to some of the others. The LV ones, they're not my favourites. I do find they're a little bit synthetic in style, but I can't deny they smell good. You could do a lot worse than most of those ones. Afternoon Swim, for example, is one I quite enjoy. I do have an alternative version to Afternoon Swim, which I actually like more than the original, which is kind of an inspired by thing. Well, not inspired by, but it's very much in that vein. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video. But anyway, today, this is called Amour Brut. Had a sample come through from Germany. This is an expensive bottle, so any sort of sample I could get that wasn't totally busting the bank out, I thought it's worth a shot maybe. So I'll give you guys a lowdown on what it's all about. So it was launched in 2023, apparently, but I think it got moved up to their new line when that was launched at the end of last year, or sometime last year. They launched a new Exclusifs collection, and this one got put in with those ones. The nose is Maurus Bachmann. Never heard of this dude, but he's got a few interesting things on his list. Yeah, he's got stuff for LEN. He's got Thomas de Monaco. I don't know that brand, but it's presumably it's a niche house. So yeah, the notes on it. Well, anyway, the scent itself is meant to be some sort of. You'll see on the info. I'll on the thumbnail you've got that sort of thing with London, and it's got 007. It's somehow meant to be inspired by James Bond. I mean, these scents in the line all have a story. That's sort of their thing. They're all based around stories and sort of narratives. This one has sort of a James Bond thing going on. Supposedly James Bond meets a woman or something like that. I should have the blurb up really, but I haven't. But I've got the notes. But yeah, 007. So this is supposed to be the sort of scent James Bond would rock in some sort of way. I take that for what it is. So the notes. Anyway, the notes. Citruses. The top, citruses, elemi, timur. Middle notes, magnolia, jasmine. The base notes, patchouli, oak moss, ambergris, leather. So a fairly standard set of notes there for a masculine, citrus. It's classed as a she fragrance. Which tells you that there might be more of a sort of a mossy thing, a woody thing going on toward the base. And you certainly got the notes there that if they come through, that could be what we get. So I'm going to spray it. I've actually already had a go on this one when it came in, so this is more of a second impression, but I just thought I'd share it with you guys. Maybe someone out there is looking for a scent like this who might enjoy this. I'm a pretty tough crowd, but because it's so expensive and because it had some praise, all the stuff online I could find about this was very positive, that it was fun to wear, nice hybrid between some of those other sort of scents, capturing that sort of vibe. Yeah, so spray it up. I'll tell you what we get. But I can tell you already the ending of the fragrance, because I've had this on this morning. The ending of this fragrance, it goes slightly more in a different direction than it does at the start. So there is a progression. So I can tell you guys about how it sort of develops and stuff. Here we go. All right, get the opening. Yeah, the opening's fantastic. The opening is absolutely fantastic. You get this blast of citruses. Almost smells minty. It almost has like a cocktail sort of vibe to it. The notes don't have any mint, but I do get, or maybe I don't even have the full notes there. Let's have a looky. I might not have the full notes. I listed the notes for Fragrantica, but Fragrantica miss a lot of notes sometimes. Okay, there are more notes. Okay, bergamot, blackcurrant, lime, neroli, pepper. Definitely get the blackcurrant. Definitely get the lime in the opening. Heart notes, iris. There's even more, and then the base also has tonka bean and vetiver, oak moss, leather, patchouli. Okay, so there's more notes than I read just then. So yeah, the opening's really, really nice. A blast of, like, I would almost describe it as sort of a minty, zesty sort of cocktail of citrus. Really, really pleasant. Definitely get the lime and the blackcurrant, and not too much of the pepper, to be honest. No, not too much of the pepper. Maybe a slight bit of spiciness from the ginger. Is there a ginger? Well, there's no ginger listed on this description. I don't really get a ginger. I just get a sort of a very slightly mildly spicy thing with a mintiness as well. Give it another blast. Yeah, definitely smells sort of like a drink or a cocktail in the opening. The citrus has like a candied quality. So if you can imagine sort of a candied lime sort of smell off the top, that's very, 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 very pleasant. Very, very nice opening. Yeah, it's uplifting. It's fun smelling. It doesn't smell overly serious or sort of herbal or anything like that. It's got a really, really nice opening. The quality is like, it's really like has some depth to it. Yeah, very, very pleasant opening. I can't, this is not, necessarily a super realistic citrus, but the way it's put together is really, really nice. It's really, really pleasant. At this sort of price tag for, fresh citrus spell, this is what we have to have, bare minimum. This is the bare minimum. It has to have, a nice opening. The only way I would compare it to the LVs is maybe that sort of slightly sweet synthetic citrus is sort of slightly similar, I guess, but yeah, this one has a little more of a cocktail, sort of a minty cocktail vibe with the candied lime, and yeah, I get a sort of a candy lime with a little bit of blackcurrant just to take the edge off. Very, very nice. And then the sort of the depth in this fragrance, what it kind of goes into. Obviously, lots of floral stuff in the middle. Don't get a huge amount of that from smelling the fragrance, but it obviously lends a nice sort of. It sort of complements the freshness at the top. But then the base in this fragrance is pretty. You can smell immediately. There's a depth to it. I definitely get the oak moss in there. I don't get too much of the leatheriness, but the prominent base note for me is sort of the oak moss and patchouli and the vetiver. It has a sort of a woody, masculine vibe, which I think is where this fragrance has that sort of. A lot of the reviews or sort of the blurb about it is that it's supposed to be like a manly, traditional manly cologne. I get a little bit of that. So I guess the concept of this fragrance or the execution of it is you've got sort of traditional, masculine sheep for a kind of base, with a sort of more new school, candid, synthetic citrus that you might find in fragrances by LV at the top. So it's sort of it has that sort of woody base, but it has a more fun vibe at the top. It has a more youthful vibe. Very versatile, I'd imagine. I would enjoy wearing this, or I've been enjoying wearing this. It's quite, it's refreshing, it's zesty, it's pleasant smelling. The only thing is later in the dry down, and I'm just going to talk on having had it on for a few hours this morning, it gets more and more toward the oak moss, toward the green sort of oak moss vibe as you get into the dry down. Still smells good, but it's not my, that's not my favourite sort of dry down for these sort of scents. I like my bases. I tend to like them more in the, the ambergris and Broxton style if they're done you know, done to a good level. But this one, certainly, if you want something that's in the sort of style of maybe those LV fresh fragrances, but leans a little more mature, a little more masculine. Yeah, this one's pleasant, I think. Let's spray it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it one more time. There we go. Yeah, the opening's definitely the nicest part of this one. Yeah, really like a juicy cocktail with the lime and the blackcurrant. Really good. And yeah, with some depth as well. So yeah, I quite like this, but at its price point, it's about €300 for the 100ml bottle. Now it is an extrait de parfum. Doesn't really mean much. I feel like this is about the same level of strength as most EDPs. It doesn't really seem to be super bombastic. It is quite oily on the skin. I imagine it will hang around a long time, but like I said, the later dry down goes more into that oak moss thing, which is not really my thing. But I'm glad I sampled it. It's something that might get some buzz later down the line. More people start to smell this. It might be one that gets some praise, gets some sort of people excited. Doesn't really excite me, but it's nice. It's nice. It's like it definitely, is it worth? No, it's not worth, €300. But if it was like, say, 150, 100, it might be a decent alternative to the likes of the LVs or the, not that the Rogers cost that much, but I guess we could compare it like against Elysium and say it's a slightly more maybe sort of mature take on that, while still being a little bit sort of fun and youthful. Yeah, it smells classy. It smells good. It smells classy, but it also has a sort of also has a sort of laid back vibe to it. Very, very versatile. I could rock this anytime. It's not my preferred, like I said, it's not my preferred dry down for a fresh scent. I like my fresh scent to be a bit more, let's say, yeah, like I said, a little more on the Ambroxan side, a little more crisp with the base. Don't really want too much of that green oak moss thing coming through, which is where I feel this one goes. This one goes much more into oak moss in the later dry down. It's fine if that's what you want, if that's the sort of thing you enjoy. So yeah, we'll give it. Let's give it a mark today. I'd give this a for the scent. I would probably give it like a 7.5, maybe 7.5, something like that. 7.5, which is pretty good for I'm pretty. You guys haven't heard me like rank things that I don't enjoy so much. I'm going to give most of them very low marks. So for this to get about a 7 means it's pretty nice. Value-wise, though, it's not going to get a. It's not going to get a terrific mark. It's probably going to get like a 4 for value. It's not really tremendously good value, I don't think. But yeah, it is what it is. They're my first impressions. If you want something at this price level that it's really going to blow your mind, this made me just think straight away when I smelled this and thought, okay, this is the other comparable things on the market at the moment that you could get for this sort of price level. When I smelled this, I thought, I'm so glad I got that bottle of Amour Citron, because that one is one that's worth €300. That's the shit. That's my shit. Easily better than this in my nose for like an upscale niche citrus scent. Yeah, this one wouldn't be worthy of my consideration in the sort of bigger scheme of things, but it's pretty nice. It's not terrible, but I've kind of honed in on what I like with citrus smells. But I do like to smell a variety of things, so I'm glad I smelt it. And yeah, the next impression on the channel is going to be a John Christoph creation. I've got one of his like niche releases coming from last year. It's called Secret de Musk for a house called Reign de Saba. Very excited to get my nose on that. It's one that I sort of glossed over before just because of how expensive it was. Hard to sample, but the other day I managed to find a sample for it. That should be coming in the next few days. And yeah, super hyped to try that one out because that one should be dope. It's got some comparisons to things that I like a lot. yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I hope I don't love it too much, because if I like it and I want to get a bottle, it's not going to be easy to get, because the customs tax and stuff, buying it overseas, I don't think it's available in the UK. I just pray it's not like it's blowing my socks off, but some of the impressions of it is really, really pleasant. So we'll see about that one. So stay tuned over the next week or so. I should have another video up on that. But Amour Brut, LEN Amour Brut, that's our first impression. It's good. It's not great. Someone else might like it more than I do, but it's yeah, it's decent enough. That's what I say about it. It's good. It's good. Maybe good to very good. It's but yeah, that oak moss thing that comes through is not my shit. So there you go. There's my impression, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.